Hello students, welcome to EPG Patashala. I am Dr. Basav Jirli from Banaras Hindu University. Today we are going to talk on the module History of Extension Services in the Post-Independence Era. This module we will be discussing some of the post-independence extension programs, and it is going to cover the paper, that is concept and dimension of extension education. In the previous class, we discussed about the pre-independence extension efforts. The major learnings of the pre-independence extension efforts reveal that people are in need of change and people want change. What is this change that we are talking of? That change itself is relating to development. So, change in the existing living situation. So, that is what is leading to the development. But how we can do that? So, much part of the society is not having the conceptual clarity. That is where the role of the institution comes into the picture. When we say that there needs to be an institution, what type of institution it should be? We have seen good number of informal institutions which were operating in different parts of the country and the impacts also. Even though a lot of interest was generated among the development initiatives, but for good number of reasons that what we have already discussed, it could not continue for the longer period. Under such circumstances, what are the alternatives before us? By that time, Indian subcontinent obtained freedom from the British rule and we started the extension activities in a systematic way. And what are those initiatives that we will be discussing one by one under this particular module? As a part of post-independence extension efforts, the first program that we are going to discuss is Fika Development Scheme, which was launched in the year 1946 by Shri V.T. Krishnamachari. This is at the juncture of independence the program was launched. Hence, we are going to discuss it as a part of post-independence extension efforts. Fika means an administrative unit where the development program is going to be implemented. Initially, the program was launched in 34 Fikas and in 1950 it was extended to 50 additional Fikas. Fikas were selected in the state based on the general backwardness of the area and where there is possibility of initiating cottage industries. The scheme consisted of two types of plans, short-term plans and long-term plans. Short-term plans included immediate action on development of rural communications, water supply, formation of panchayats and organization of cooperatives. Basically, short-term plan included providing necessary infrastructure and bringing communities together. The second group of institutions solely depend on the success of the short-term plan. If there is development of basic infrastructure and if there is organization of people into groups, then the long-term plans can be planned and carried out. Long-term plans included to make the area, that is Fika, self-sufficient through agricultural, irrigational, livestock improvement and development of khadi and other cottage industries. Through these efforts, the scheme intended to attain Gandhian idea of Gram Swaraj because he believed in production by masses, not mass production. The organization structure of Fika development scheme included at the top the collector, rural welfare officer for a cluster of 2 to 3 Fikas, Gram Sevak or a revenue inspector and a team of for a group of 5 to 10 firkas. For each firka or a cluster of firkas, a team of professionals, namely agricultural fieldmen, administrative officer, mistris, supervisors and irrigation overseers were appointed to take up the long-term as well as short-term activities which were planned under Firka development scheme. The priority areas of work for each Firka included rural reconstruction, drinking water facility, sanitation, agriculture, khadi and other village industries. Friends, the earlier program, what we saw as a Firka development scheme that was planned and implemented at the juncture of independence by the provincial government. There was a basic paradigm shift. Yes, the established government is supporting developmental initiatives, and because of that, there was a lot of changes in the state of Tamil Nadu at that point of time, or in the province of Madras, erstwhile Madras province, there were good number of changes. In the subsequent years, when India got independence in the year 1947, there was a basic challenge before the newly formed Indian government. That was establishment of or the providing rehabilitation to the displaced Indians, especially from the Pakistan, and in the eastern side from the Bangladesh. How to provide appropriate support to these people who are not having anything in their hands. They have left their entire property, may it be landed, movable, immovable, all types of properties. They were not having anything with them, only few individuals are there. How to rehabilitate these people or section of the society was a major challenge that government was facing. There were different camps, especially known as the refugee camps or the rehabilitation camps established throughout the country. Government made special arrangements to transport these people to different parts of the country so that they can be provided appropriate support so that they can establish themselves. So, there are good number of such efforts that were carried out throughout the country, but here we will be taking up only one such project that was in the place known as Nilokeri. Popularly it is known as Nilokeri experiment. The person behind this Nilokeri experiment was Dr. S.K. Day. Later, he became the Minister for Rural Development also in the Ministry of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. The one more reason why we are discussing this Nilokeri experiment is the then Prime Minister of India was having a special interest in this particular project because it is very nearer to Delhi, and he wanted to see that how we can monitor the growth and the development initiatives when government concentrates its effort at a point of time. So, that is why this particular experiment is under focus. Looking into the situation, the government emphasized on vocational education through vocational training centers, because those people were not having anything with them. So, what is that what we can give to them? Now, the easiest possible thing and the best possible alternative was to provide them certain activities. What is that activity? That activity will be of their choice, government is going to support them. These vocational training centers imparted skill-based training to the people. Each and every vocation is having a skill. A particular individual is interested in obtaining a particular skill and he wants to establish a unit of his own in that direction, government is going to provide him the support. And in turn, they were motivated to engage into the livelihood generation activities. Yes. After getting the skill, you start your own activities and you will be provided with good all possible support from the government. The efforts done under Nilokeri are also called as Mazdoor Manzil because all these people were working for their development and they were the laborers of their own families or their own situations. What are those activities that were taken up? Primarily, agriculture was the focus. They were given some land to cultivate so that they can produce the food grains. Apart from that, as we said, that is vocational education. It may be establishment of a printing press, establishment of a polytechnics, ITIs. There are so many such range of activities that were established, mechanic shops and good number of such things were established. That is why it is also known as the Mazdoor Manzil. So, in one of our previous discussions, we were talking of the participation, where there are established societies, it becomes a bit difficult to generate or to motivate the people to participate in the programs. Now you see the different situation. The people coming from the other parts of the country, for political reasons it was divided and now they are not having anything with them now. Is there any question of non-involvement or non-participation? Obviously not. They are bound to participate and because of that they are going to change, and this is what had happened in case of Nilokeri. Those people in the 1947, under what circumstances they were living, when we look into the subsequent years, there was a sea change. We can say that there was a paradigm shift. From landless laborers, so now they are the owners of good number of ventures, good number of enterprises, and there is lot of diversity that we see under that section of the society. Now, we cannot at any point of time identify that section of the society as, yes, around 60 years back they were refugees. No, we cannot say that. That is what is the change that we can see through these programs like Mazdoor Manzil or Nilokeri experiment. And this is what is expected. With your involvement, you can never fail, and without your involvement, you can never succeed. So that is what is the punchline for development. This is what it was emphasized in Nilokeri experiment also. Grow More Food Campaign, launched in 1947. Immediately after independence, the priority of the nation was to provide food grains for the countrymen. But at that time, there was a severe shortage of food grains in the country. The nation was importing food grains. The national priority was to establish the new order in the country and establish peace and stability in the country. We cannot establish peace without food. There was a severe shortage of food grains in the country. The country was importing the food grains. Being an agrarian economy based country, it was very hard to believe that where the majority of the population of the country is dependent on agriculture, its food needs are being satisfied with imported grains. Hence, the country wanted to come out of such situation. To encounter the situation, the government launched a campaign known as Grow More Food Campaign. Campaign is basically an intensive educational activity intended to bring immediate change in the target community. So, many such campaigns government run time to time. For example, polio campaign, Grow More Food campaign was a nationwide campaign wherein farmers are motivated to grow more food. It has many messages, namely, increase the area under cultivation, increase the cropping intensity, or increase the productivity. Basically, Grow More Food campaign was intended to enhance the cropping intensity so that in the same piece of land, more crops can be grown in 2 or 3 seasons depending on the seasonal rotation of the crop in different parts of the country, so that there will be more food grains available in the country. All these 3 efforts led to more food grains. Farmers also responded to the efforts. Production started growing up, but there were limitations with the genetic production potentiality of the crop. In the subsequent years, the issue was given emphasis and new varieties had all these desirable qualities. After having discussed the Grow More Food campaign, now let us move on to the Itawa pilot project, which was again one of the most ambitious program of the government of India. So, the objective of this Itawa pilot project was to see the extent of improvement possible in agricultural production, social improvement and self-reliance and cooperation in an average agricultural district. So, how we can change the situation district as a unit? So, that was the basic thing. The organizational structure included the project was the district planning officer, block manager and a village level extension worker. These were the three people who were responsible for bringing in the change at the village level, and their levels of operation are going to be different. Coming to the modus operandi of this particular project, how this particular project was planned and implemented. So, the first thing was, whatever the problems that particular district of Itawa or in that section of the society was facing were tackled by making an effort to broaden the mental horizon of the villagers. The basic issue here is how we can broaden the mental horizon. Number one, by providing education. There is no alternative. So, there needs to be provided education, and that is what was done in the first part. The second thing was dealing with the villager's land, his tools and his surroundings. In some of the previous experiments, we were talking of identifying the resources and exploiting the resources. That was also given due attention under this program as dealing with villagers' land, because it is a resource, their tools, yes, it is a resource, and their surroundings, it is also a resource. The modus operandi was educative and persuasive rather than coercive, means they wanted to be bottom up rather than top down, which we find in majority of the programs. If it is bottom up, if the grassroots level people are involved in this particular program, so then we can say that the program is never going to be failure, because it is their program and every individual feel that I am party to the decisions what we have taken for implementation of this program. Yes, I am going to participate, and as we said, if there is participation, the program is going to be most successful. So, with this model, let us look into some of the achievements of this Itawa pilot project. What are the things that what we could achieve under Itawa? The entire district was under the improved varieties of wheat. Now, you see, we are talking of this particular program almost 6 decades or 7 decades in the past. Around 65 to 70 years before, the entire district adopted the improved varieties of wheat. When we look into the seed replacement ratio, even today, it is not crossing the levels of 15 to 20%. But the district of Itawa adopted this particular way back 7 decades back. So, that is the power of these extension programs. The two basic problems that the rinderpest and the hemorrhagic septicemia facing the animal husbandry sector were totally controlled with this particular project. Recently, India was declared as free from rinderpest, but the district of Itawa was declared way back in 1950s or 40s. Then the next achievement of this program was the area under vegetables was extended. cultivation of vegetables, especially for the farmers, are having special significance because they are going to be the source of regular income, continuous income and the additional income. That is why in their cropping system or in their farming systems, the vegetables were introduced in a large way so that they are going to have the regular as well as the additional income apart from the major crops. From the sanitation point of view, construction of the roads, soak pits in the villages were taken up by the participation of the people who are living in that region. In all the crops they were cultivating, they started accepting the improved agricultural practices. As we have seen in our previous discussion, the process of agricultural research was started in 1905. Systematic efforts were done since 1905. There were a good number of innovations that were available for the farmers. And at that time, the extension system was not that strong to influence these communities, but with the programs like this, the people started accepting these things. And the last achievement what we could see under this Otama pilot project is overall improvement in the economic condition of the farmers. Because they were adopting the improved practices, because they were adopting the improved varieties, because they were going for changing their cropping systems and the farming systems, because of all these interventions, there was overall change in the socio-economic conditions because their income level started increasing. Once your income level increases, definitely your social status is also increasing in the society, and that is what had happened under this Otama pilot project. Looking into the success of this project and looking into the participation of the people in this particular project, government started thinking of replicating this type of activities at the national level, and keeping these things in view, they started planning subsequent programs. Planning Commission, which was established in 1950. Since beginning of discussion on development programs, whether pre-independence or post-independence, we have been talking of the resources. Identifying the resources, understanding the resources, utilizing the resources, exploiting the resources, and management of resources. Even today, it is the priority issue for established governments. Apart from that, improving the living standards of the people by making efficient use of resources of the nation is another priority. Through these processes, government intend to offer opportunities to every citizen of the country in the service of the nation for enhancing the production and productivity in all sectors of economy. With this, we can understand that Planning Commission is having responsibility of developing plans for effective and balanced utilization of resources and determining the priorities of the nation in achieving holistic development. Prime Minister of the nation is ex officio chairman of the Planning Commission of India. Hence, the first Prime Minister, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, was the first chairman of Planning Commission of India. The first 5-year plan was launched in the year 1951. The functions of the Planning Commission of India include assessing the material, capital and human resources of the country. This is what we have been emphasizing since beginning, identifying the resources and making use of that resources for the development of the country. This was the first and foremost priority function of Planning Commission of India. Formulate plans for effective and balanced utilization of resources. It is not that whatever the resources that what we have, we need to exploit it for negative aspects also. So that is why it is emphasized in the function of Planning Commission that the resources should be used in a balanced way for the development of the nation. The third function defined was define the stages in which the plan should be carried out and propose the allocation of resources. It may be the financial resource or human resource or any type of resource. All these points are emphasizing the role of resources, allocation of resources, utilization of resources. The next function of Planning Commission of India was indicate the factors which are tending to retard the economic development, identifying those areas which are creating trouble for the economic growth and development of the country. Because if we remove those hindrances or the drawbacks, the economy is going to enhance and it is going to facilitate the process of the economic development of the nation. So hence, it is one of the important function of Planning Commission of India. Determine the nature of machinery necessary for securing the successful implementation of the programs that are being planned by various ministries. So, for each ministry which is developing various programs, it needs different types of resources and different types of machineries, and it is the responsibility of Planning Commission to identify those machineries and to make them available to those ministries which are planning and implementing the programs. Apprise from time to time the progress achieved in execution of each stage of the plan to the competent authorities. Every ministry is having its own program as a part of the 5-year plan, and at regular intervals these appraisals are made by the competent authorities just to identify whether the planned program is being implemented in the planned way, or are there any impediments or are there any problems that are being encountered, so that it can be removed and the development can be achieved. Make such interim and ancillary recommendations as appear to be appropriate, because we are going for the formation of 5-year plans. In between, there might be certain necessities or emergencies or any such situation that may arise which needs a modification of the plan or which needs some contingency plan arrangements that needs to be decided by the Planning Commission of India, so that the necessary approval will be provided to plan and implement the contingency plans or the alternative plans which are in operation as per the records. To accomplish the said functions, Planning Commission has 34 divisions with clear mandate. The first 5-year plan was launched in 1951 with the emphasis on development of infrastructure at the national level. 2 subsequent 5-year plans were formulated till 1965. There was a break in the process due to Indo-Pak War in 1965. Also, the nation has observed 2 successive years of drought, devaluation of currency, and general rise in prices. Hence, there were 3 annual plans between 1966 to 69. The 4th 5-year plan started in 1969. The process continued till 7th 5-year plan. The 8th plan could not be initiated due to political instability at the center in the country. Hence, the Planning Commission considered the years of 1991 and 91-92 as annual plans. The 8th plan was launched in the year 1992. The post-1990s in general is considered as an era of economic revolution in the country. The country has adopted the policies like liberalization, privatization, and globalization, which is popularly known as LPG era. There were sea changes in the country due to liberalization policies of the government. Emphasis shifted from public sector to private sector. Even the common man who was looking for employment opportunities only in the public sector started moving towards the private sector. Due to changed policies of government, private sector became the most attractive destination for hard workers and talented professionals. Also, government provided opportunities for employment generation by establishing industries of various capacities. So this is how Planning Commission contributes for the cause of development. As we have seen change in various sectors, institutions, organizations, so on and so forth, Planning Commission has also changed now. Now it is playing a new role. Even though there are some similarities, but with lots of changes in the institutional structure. Planning Commission now is changed as the Policy Commission. It is now being identified as Niti Ayog. Niti, basically a Sanskrit word, again having the meaning of policy. The full form of Niti, N-I-T-I, is National Institute for Transforming India. The basic functions of this Niti Ayog include to evolve a shared vision of national development priorities, sectors and strategies, to develop mechanism to formulate credible plans at the village level. The third point is to pay special attention to the sections of our society that may be at risk. The fourth one is to design strategic and long-term policy and program frameworks and initiatives. Fifth issue is to provide advice and encourage partnership between the key stakeholders. Identification of the key different stakeholders is one of the major priority, and providing an opportunity to establish the partnerships is another opportunity, and that is what is being done by the Niti Ayog. To create a knowledge, innovation and entrepreneurial support system, because entrepreneurial innovation is having the potential of making use of knowledge as well as innovations. So hence, by giving opportunities to these things, we can see lots of changes at the national level. To offer a platform for resolution of intersectoral and interdepartmental issues. So these are of highly important in nature. Because of these things, there are major products which are under question mark that needs to be addressed through this Niti Ayog by providing a common platform for resolution and resolving the issues between these departments. To actively monitor and evaluate the implementation of programs. So there are good number of programs that are being planned and implemented by various ministries. So now Niti Ayog will be conducting regular monitoring and evaluation processes on all these activities so that the programs run in a most competent manner. To focus on the technology upgradation and capacity building of the different sectors of the society, so that the ultimate process of entrepreneurship development is going to gain the momentum. There are two more supporting institutions to this Niti Ayog include, number one, the Unique Identification Authority of India, or UDAI, and another one is National Institute of Labour Economics Research and Development. With all these institutional support, the Planning Commission, which is now having a new role as a policy commission, is going to develop appropriate strategies and strategic interventions in the form of the policy interventions, so that the ultimate aim of development and changing the socio-economic status of the people and how to reach the unreached are the major priorities of this particular intervention at the national level. So friends, under the discussion on the post-independence extension efforts, as a first part, we discussed so far 6 different initiatives that were taken up in different parts of the country. The set of development initiatives discussed so far aims at community involvement in development programs. If there is involvement of communities, none of the development initiatives can fail. This is what we emphasized in our discussion also, and as a conclusion again I am repeating that. Nilokeri experiment is an example how development can be achieved when you are not having anything of your own. You are struggling for everything, may it be land, labor, capital or even human resources. Still, there is a way out to be successful. This is what we have seen in case of community development, Nilokeri experiment. And Itawa pilot project is an example. You have many things at your disposal, but management of the resources can bring the prosperity. This is what is evident from the Itawa pilot project. Similar trends were observed in case of Fika development scheme also, which was implemented in the province of Madras. People's response to the Grow More Food campaign helped in increasing the food production, but lacked the educational approach. Yes, we need to improve upon in the forthcoming programs. People only accepted the technology, but did not understand what and how the technology is going to work. And maybe because of that, there are some problems even today that we are facing, yes, and we are also making an effort to overcome that. The discussion on Planning Commission, which is now transformed into the Policy Commission, is an institutional support for policy formulation for the country. So, these are 6 different sets of programs that we discussed in the first part of our discussion on the post-independence extension efforts. There are many such programs planned and implemented for bringing in the change at different levels in the subsequent classes. Thank you.